What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Volleyball Source podcast. It is Tuesday, March 23rd today. I have a very special guest joining us from his quarantine in Ottawa. Is that where you're at? You're at mom and dad's?
Yeah, just outside of Ottawa in Manitic. I'm mom
Oh,
and dad's.
good old Manitic. About 15 minutes down the road from where I grew up in Barhaven. He just finished his second year of pro playing in the Czech Republic for Odalena Voda Arrow.
Yeah, Aero Odalina Voda.
Arrow Odalena Voda. He is the pride of Nipissing University and the Mavericks Volleyball Club, not to mention Sir Robert Borden High School. We have Mr. Warren Taylor. Dude, what's going on? How's it going?
It's good, man. Finally good just to relax and give the body a break after a long season. Just happy to be home after one of the craziest COVID seasons the only COVID season I've been a part of. I mean, I shout out to everyone that's overseas right now playing because it's not easy this year.
How
It was not easy this year.
take us through it a little bit. How bad, how hard is it? Because one of my funniest, I think, memories from when COVID was going down last year was watching you on Instagram being like, hey, there's a pandemic going on, so this is mean I can travel for cheap. And for a while, you were hopping, going through different cities, traveling for cheap. Was that you?
No, that wasn't me.
No?
For me,
Oh.
it was like as soon as the season ended because of COVID, they're like, yeah, we have to send you home before Canada locks the border. So you're on a flight tomorrow morning. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, dang.
Guess I'm going home.
Dang.
Yeah, it was like boom, right away.
But how hard is it to play professionally right now? Because I mean, playing professionally is an isolating experience at the best of times, right?
Yeah.
You're in a different country. You can't necessarily speak the language. None of your family and friends are there. But now you have all of this other stuff where it's you can't even go out and experience the country.
Oh no, exactly. Usually, if let's just say you're the only English speaking person on the team, you're gonna have that barrier, not being able to talk to people. That's a pretty simple thing, right? Just being able to communicate with people. Uh, as well, being able to go out into the city. I was very close to Prague, maybe only 20 minutes away, one quick bus, and I'm downtown, and everything's locked down. So now that's taken away from you, and so now for me, I was stuck in a town. It's a really small town, like 5,000 people. So
Oof.
now, you only have one restaurant, right? And even that is takeout only. So now it's you wake up, you go to practice, you come home, sleep, you go to practice again at night, and then you're right back in your apartment. So it's it starts to feel like Groundhog Day, you're reliving the same day over and over. And it's really tough. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory.
That,
It's
that
tough.
that sounds rough. Did you have a roommate or anything, or was it just you by yourself?
So I had a roommate, but he was like our uh, third libero. So he was like a backup. And halfway through the season, we got another outside. So then there was just not enough time for him to play on the court during practice. So the coach let him go. So then it ended up being I was alone as well. So then it was like, whoa, now what do I do?
So
Yeah.
what did
So
you do? Did you take up finger painting? Are you really well read now? What did you do?
honestly, man, I'm personally a gamer. Just started downloading. I got a Game Pass. Started playing games. I'd watch Netflix. I'd read a book here and there. Uh, I don't know, man. It's really tough when you have a lot of thoughts and you keep them to yourself. It ends up being very, very tough. I don't know if anyone's just for example, I've been home for maybe 3 or 4 days,
Hmm.
or no, 7 days, and
You're
I'm already
already starting to
thinking
lose it.
I'm already starting to lose it. Exactly. I'm just sitting in the basement. I'm like, oh, okay, one more week until quarantine's done and I'm free. It's I like to be busy. I like to be doing things. So I'm already looking to get a job or find a way to keep myself busy. So yeah, man, it's just ways to occupy your time through hobbies or whatever. Uh, I was also fortunate enough to like I have a girlfriend as well in Czech Republic right now. She's actually studying there. She's from Mexico. So I was lucky enough to, be able to go and hang out with her and her friends from around the world. So that was
Okay.
lucky for me. So at least, once a week, when I have that Sunday off, I could go hang out with her and her friends and just have some fun walking around Prague. So that was at least, something to look forward to. Like, yeah. So that I enjoyed. It's very important to find friends away from home or something that can make like away feel like home. So at least being able to speak English with a few people was comforting.
So this girlfriend, did you meet her last year? Because this is actually your second year with the club. Um,
No, I met her this year. I met
okay.
her this year. It was kind of funny. It was like I was just out and I was just like grabbing a coffee and I just like talked to her. And then after that, it was like, hey, like, you know, you should come over and hang out with some of me and my friends. Like, okay, sure. And it was like during lockdown, it's like, okay, so there's police outside and it kind of feels like you know I don't know how to explain it, like you don't want to get caught because like they could arrest you, so it's like you're almost sneaking around after 8 p.m.
That's crazy. We haven't had any lockdowns like that in Canada. I guess actually no, that's true. We did have a lockdown. It wasn't so much like you couldn't be outside, but there was no businesses like in Toronto. There was no businesses
Yeah.
allowed to be open past 8 p.m.
Wow.
And that was yeah that was a little bit tough. But you know, I just completely forgot what my next question was. Sorry about that.
That's okay, that's okay.
We mentioned has been year two with this club, which is like you're pretty lucky. Most people usually have a string of 1 year contracts, and maybe they get a 2 year one. You got a 2 year right off the bat. Are you going to be going back to them for a third year? Are you going to test the market a little bit? What's up for you moving forward?
Moving forward, I'm just going to take it like one day at a time. It's been 2 years. I've enjoyed my experience there, but like you said, like for me, I'm just thinking, I have a limited amount of time I can play. Everybody grows old, so it would be to test the market, play in a different city or country altogether. I think a different country would be very, very cool because when you play in one country and you're playing all these teams, you get to travel the entire country playing volleyball. So it's a very cool experience. So with a limited amount of time, I would like to most likely try something new.
Dude, I'm looking at your Volleybox profile right
Yeah.
now, and you've got like all of the clubs on your profile, eh? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
On
went all the way
Volleyball, I put
you
everything.
went all the way to the good old Ottawa
It's the history.
Kangaroos. You got the purple in there. That's crazy.
I had to. I had to.
I, I'm
It's
I'm trying to look here. Oh, you and George Ibrahim are the only person who have ever clocked in to play for the Ottawa Kangaroos. that's that's great. Now, like you first of all, I kind of want to talk about Nipissing University with you, and because
okay.
you you were one of the first guys to come out of that program after they made the jump to U Sport. Like they made the jump to U
Yeah.
Sport, and you were kind of one of those the first recruits in the first few years, and then you really helped grow that program to what it is today, to being like a very well respected program in the OUA. I just kind of like to hear about, because like like Nipissing is obviously, it's not one of the first places you think about when you think about like getting recruited for volleyball, but it seems like everyone I know who's gone to play for Nipissing has had a really really good experience.
Oh man, I absolutely enjoyed my time, my 5 years there. It's funny, it goes by fast, but when you look back, it's just so many good memories. I remember I was like 18 and I called my coach at Christmas and I said, you know what? I think I want to come to Nipissing University. And he's like, well, that's like the best Christmas present I could have asked for. Because our team, the Mavericks, we were doing so well. I think my 18 year, we came third at nationals. Like we were killing it. And in my 17U year,
Are
we,
you a
we came second.
95? Are you a
Yeah,
95?
I'm a 95.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
95.
yeah. So your 17U year, you guys came second at nationals. I remember that because
Yeah.
I coached the 18U team just above you, and yeah, you were a very I mean that was a very good club team, but you were also a very good club player. So I can understand why
Yeah.
Eric Young was stoked to get you.
So yeah, to get like a decent recruit, he was definitely very happy, especially because the following year we were going to the OUA, and it was definitely interesting. These guys, they had just come off a national championship, so it's like we're the best, and then you go up against juggernauts like McMaster, and you're whoa 3-0. And it's like, okay, we were good in college, but this is the next level. Like, this is not college anymore. So definitely, definitely humbling for them. And it was definitely, well, we need to recruit bigger, more skilled players. And no, but those guys were awesome. Like, it was like right away, they welcomed me onto the team, and they worked very, very hard. Even some of I had middle, like Tyler Phillipson, 6'1" or 6'2", but he was fast and he could close blocks. And you know what? Sometimes it's not all about height; it's about decision making and heart. So, shout outs to him. He was good.
It seemed to me like Nipissing really just embodied this grinder mentality that you guys were going to go
Yeah.
out and
Oh, yeah.
grind out every single game, and it didn't matter if you guys were playing against Mac or U of T or RMC, that you guys were going to go out and make it difficult on the other teams.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, it's sometimes very tough to recruit to a Northern Ontario team. So if we weren't going to be getting the most skilled players, then we were going to work hard to become the most physical players. We were fortunate enough to take on Tyler Vivian as our strength coach, and we
T-Viv,
had him
yeah.
at we had him at the Mavericks, and right away the OUA noticed, like, whoa, like these Nipissing players, like they've been working hard over the summer, like they're massive. It's like, you got Cameron Branch, like when he hits the ball, the floor shakes. He was an absolute beast, like 330 plus kills per season. Lyndon Senego, awesome. He can jump so high, pretty decent ball control, man. And he was so strong. I remember his hand clean numbers were ridiculous. And then also we had Jack Peckham from Hamilton. He was on my team. And like from his first year to his last year, it's like, whoa, like he grew so much. Like he was so strong. Even, like we're doing vertical testing and he jumps, 11.8, like 0.5 higher than me. And yeah, I'm way better than you. I'm way better. It's like so competitive, so competitive. He'd always say, you're M2, you're an M2.
You're an M2.
You're an M2, you're middle two. But I was like, no. So I would always say, no, I'm the M1. So it was always a competition between both of us. It was funny.
It
Good memories.
it seems like that you're right. Like thinking back to watching you guys progress physically, like it seems like guys went into that Nipissing program and you all just become like gym rats, and you all just get bigger, and it's great to see. Do you would you suggest, if you're talking to like a younger recruit, maybe a young Mavericks kid, would you suggest like, hey, like go to Nipissing, like you're gonna have a good experience there?
Oh, absolutely. With the strength and conditioning program, and as well, Eric Young is a great coach. I've seen him grow throughout the years, and every year better and better. If it comes down to just the first day you're there, him welcoming you, your recruiting trip to, getting the Nipissing know everything, all your resources you need inside. Like he has it down to a T. He makes sure you have the resources you have to need to succeed, and he pushes you to to become your best. He's not going to accept a subpar performance, and it's just that simple.
To me, like the growth of a program like Nipissing really shows the growth of Canadian volleyball in general, because Nipissing has it's a smaller school in a not so easy place to recruit, and yet now not only have you guys found success in the league in the OUA, you guys are a staple in the OUA, and as I mentioned before, it's not a team that anyone takes lightly anymore. Definitely, probably in those beginning days, it was very much like, okay, when are we playing RMC and when are we playing Nipissing? Whereas like
Nipissing,
I know that for a fact now, like it is not a gimme game to go up to Nipissing at all.
No, because what you have to understand is for Nipissing, it's just tough for us in general for all road games because our closest road game is 5 hours away. So when we have a home game, it's like you guys are feeling what we're feeling. When we go all the way to Windsor and it's a 8.5 hour drive, we can't wait for Windsor to come play us. It's just, yeah, it's you get those road legs, so you got to deal with that.
I made that trip one year for the season opener. When Logan Mend was setting for York, his dad Paul was in town. He's been like, "I'm renting a car and I'm driving up. Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not? Let's go up to Nipissing for a game." I think it was the year that you were at the FTC. I think it was the year after you were there. Otherwise, I definitely would remember like seeing you and stuff there. Cause anyways, and yeah, like that reminded me of like playing college, like being in the bus and like having to drive and then like play like that. Like that's insane. But like that's difficult. But like I feel like you guys, I remember Eric Young once telling me, and this was years ago, so I think it's changed a little bit now, but that, when he was you were the only person that he recruited, that other people recruiting, that said yes to him. And every single one, every other person in that gym was a cast off, almost, if you will, was someone who was just kind of like the warmed leftovers. And, you guys were able to create something very good from all of that. And, it's spawned careers like yourself.
Well, Eric knew it would be tough to recruit players, but he would try and find diamonds in the rough, raw talent that just need to be sculpted. And, for example, Cam Branch, he's just at a high school tournament and in a lower league, everyone else is going to like OVA tournaments or this and that. And this is just, some OFSA tournament. And whoa, this guy is, 6'5". He can jump high. If we can just, channel that, he can be a force. And it was like 2 years into his career, it's like, where did this guy come from? He's an absolute beast.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. I'd never no idea who he was. Then all of a sudden he's putting up numbers in the OUA. It's like, oh, where is this guy coming from?
So like Younger was very good at that. But as well, now I don't think it's as hard to recruit to Nipissing because we've had success and we can show, our program is good. If you come here, we're going to have success. So now it's like, because we've had these guys come in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years later, it's like, okay, it's pretty close. It's only 3.5 hours from Ottawa. Now more players are thinking, okay, it's pretty close from home. It's not too bad. Maybe I'll go play at Nipissing. It's interesting.
I remember back in 2019 when I was in Winnipeg for NORCECA Championships. After my car broke down in Winnipeg, so I had to stay there for a bit, and I went to a couple of high school tournaments, and I remember sitting there watching, and there's coaches around like showing me who different kids are and stuff like that, and they're like, oh yeah, there's this one school over there. There's that one kid, and this big kid, like big shoulders out there, and pretty good touch, pretty good ball, and he's from Atikokan, which is a town in northern Ontario, kind of near Thunder Bay and stuff like that. And I'm watching him, and I'm just like, and I just get this feeling. I was like, I feel like this is a kid that would go perfect at Nipissing, Yeah. And so I'm watching him, and I take a few clips from him, and I like shoot them off to Younger, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's a kid. Yeah, we're already talking to him." Like he already like was already on the ball and like knew who this this one random, like, as soon as I talked about the school at Coke, and he's like, oh yeah, that's this kid, he's gonna be great, and I'm pretty sure he's signed. But it's crazy how, and I've loved watching what the Nipissing has done with the community too, in that part. Now, do you think that, like, when they do get recruits, that you're a part of that? Because now that they can be like, hey, look, like, Warren Taylor came to us, like, at the beginning, spent a year at the full-time training center. He wore a Team Canada jersey, and now he's off playing pro. Like, this could be you as well. Like, you don't need to be going to McMaster. You don't need to be going to a program that's winning championships to learn how to play this game to fully and have a career with it afterwards.
I would definitely agree to that, but not just myself. We've had other guys play professionally. Cam played in Amstetten there in Austria. Steve Wood played in Germany. So I'd say it's all three of us. I remember when I came back last season, Eric said, would you mind if I had one of your professional jerseys? I'd like to put it up in the team room. I said, no problem. So now he's got all three of our jerseys up in the team room. So if a recruit comes, or even the current roster, if they go and see that, it's like, that is possible. These guys came from the Nipissing program. It's like, whoa, it's I'm not just a Northern Ontario player. I'm not just a walk-on or redshirt. Like, I can do that. So I definitely think our influence can give people the hope to do that, as long as they put in the work and they don't cut corners, for sure.
I mean, we know that guys from Northern Ontario can be successful too, since we just have Nathan. I had Nathan Delguidas on the show last week, 2 weeks ago. I don't know, but he's from Cochrane, Ontario, played at Mac, and has been absolutely killing it in the Serbian League this year.
Yeah, Nathan Delguidas. Yeah. He's I remember he actually we almost got him. He committed to Nipissing.
He was supposed to go
and then he decommitted and then went to McMaster. Like, do I blame him? No. Why am I going to blame him for wanting to go to one of the best programs in Ontario? They've been going to nationals. They haven't got that national title yet, but I think eventually it'll happen.
It'll happen. Did you blah 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 blah? Like, did you have other suitors going into university? I feel like you did.
Yeah, I was talking to York, and I was talking to Windsor, but in the end, I was like, the closest one to home is Nipissing, and as well, my sister was going to Nipissing, so I was able to go watch some of her games, and I got to see the campus, and I was like, whoa, like, this feels like a really close community. If you go out anywhere, you're going to see all your best friends. It's like, a lot of people think, oh, it's, a small school, you're gonna get bored of it. But for me, it's like, it's pretty cool to go out and see all your best friends all the time. It's nothing wrong with that to me.
I completely forgot that your sister played there before you. That makes perfect sense. Was your sister the one who got you into volleyball?
It's actually kind of funny. Like, the way I got into volleyball was, like, I was playing at the time tackle football and hockey. And I was actually pretty.
Who were you playing for? Were you playing for Nepean?
So yeah, I was playing tackle football for the Bell Warriors.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I was playing House League B, just like for fun. And I was good at hockey. That's definitely my favorite sport. But
for Nepean Raiders, yeah.
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 Raiders,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Real's got to recognize Real right now. As long as you didn't play for Canada, that's fine.
No way.
Fucking Canada Blazers. One time, my team actually set, at the time, I think we set the Ottawa minor hockey record for most penalty minutes in a game at a Sensplex tournament, and we played Canada in the finals. We played the entire second and third period of 5-on-3. We had enough penalty minutes to play 4 more periods of 5-on-3, and by the end of the game, we had like our trainer and 3 guys left on the bench. It was great. It was a good time. So from now on, I always hate Canada hockey. But sorry, we'll go back. How did you get into volleyball?
So yeah, and I was like, I want to maybe play competitive hockey, and it's like, my father, no. I'm like, why? Why? Why not? I want to play.
Dude, it's
Oh my, so expensive, man. You're talking about a traveling hockey team, $10,000 plus. I'm a growing kid, $750 hockey stick, brand new skate 700, and I'm growing. Like I can't afford that.
Dude, not to mention the time. Like, I remember making a rep hockey team when I was like an atom, and it was just kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, you're gonna have practice 6 days a week, 3 days a week.
Yeah,
3 days a week, we're gonna be training at 6 a.m. before like school, and it was just kind of like, yo, this is a little much.
yeah. So it was like, okay, that is out of the question. And football, I was a middle linebacker. I was crushing kids, but there comes to a point where the big boys get bigger, and I got tall. I didn't get big. I got tall and lanky. So it was like, okay, I think it's time for me to get out of this sport. What's next? And then it's like, okay, my sisters are playing volleyball. Maybe I'll just try it. 14U ruse. Let's try it out. And it was like,
Ruse.
oh, it's kind of like hockey in the way that you play offense and defense in the same rally. Uh,
It's really fast.
and it's really fast game, and it's had the aggressive mentality, kind of like football and hockey. Like at first I didn't see it, but then after I was like, whoa, these guys are spiking. Like this isn't a joke. Like these are full grown men now. Like these are. So I remember just seeing Wei Lin. He would throw up a spin serve. He was incredible when he was 14, and he had the craziest spin serve. And seeing that at 14, I was like, okay, like maybe volleyball is the next thing.
I feel like any Ottawa volleyball kid has always had their kind of like come to Jesus, come to volleyball moment in watching
Yeah,
a Glacian player or Glacian play.
absolutely.
Like
They
you,
were so good, man.
and it is the heart of Ottawa volleyball. That's like that's where Jory Mantha came from. That's where Alex O'Neid comes from. Like you go down the list, and the majority of good players from Ottawa. I'm gonna say this: if like either you are from Glebe, from Glacian, like from that volleyball bubble in Ottawa, or you've been impacted in some way by it. Because I remember too, like going to tournaments as a 14-year-old, and you see this team in black and yellow, and they're just first of all they're all Asian, so you're like, oh, we're taller than the guys. We're gonna kill these guys. They're ripping spin serves. They're running a sick offense. Like everyone Ottawa volleyball is like come to moment for volleyball has to do with the Glacian Spikers like all the time, and it's great.
Oh yeah, it's like, you know, you go up against Glebe in high school, and it's like, okay, these guys have really good ball control. Their setting's awesome. Their passing is good. Like, how did they get so good? And then, I went to one of these Glacian tournaments held by Mr. Des Clouds, and I just got to see the entire culture and all the players that have played there, like in the past, whatever, 20, 30 years. And it's like, okay, this is a culture here. And then you start talking to them, and it's like, oh yeah, we come before school, we come after school, we play on the volleyball team. And it's like, it was a way for them to just express themselves, like whatever's going on at home, whatever's going on in life. It's like Mr. D was going to be there 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and you can play volleyball and you can play. So it's like, it's a good way to keep yourself out of trouble and just enjoy playing what you do, like playing what you love to do. So
I,
he is amazing. He is the biggest reason all those players got as good as they are. Like he's an amazing man.
I think them getting as good as they did was a byproduct of him caring about them as people as much as he did.
Absolutely.
He didn't care. At the end of the day, he didn't care that, like for me, like one of the big ones was like Tien. I don't know if you like Tien. He's my age. Like I played club with him, and like playing club with him was difficult at the time, but we didn't know what was going on behind the scenes with his brother and everything. And like now Tien is a man who has like a degree and is like a fantastic role model, and does great things, and is back in the society, in like the volleyball community, helps out at different places. But it's like he never did it. It's funny because Glacian always wins, and he never did it to win. He never did it with the coach's mentality of like, we're going to do it and we're going to win all these championships. He's like, we're going to do it because these kids come from like, not the greatest background, and they need something, and they all love volleyball, so that like that's what we're going to give it to them. Do you find that like I know for me, growing up in that kind of volleyball scenario where like like we were constantly around kids who had like less than us. I think I can definitely say that for myself. Given that you grew up in Manitic, I can probably say that you had like a little bit more than some of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always kind of a culture shock when I'd like see other kids and they were all like middle aged, and it gave me a different appreciation for not middle aged, sorry, like middle class. Absolutely. It gave me a much bigger appreciation for kind of like what these kids were going through and how much of a different reality it is for different clubs everywhere. Because like when we were playing for Ruse, like the Ruse were huge in supporting that, whereas we went to Mavs, it wasn't much of a reality. No hit whatsoever on the Maverick club and the way they run things, but they weren't as ingrained in like the Glash and Glebe society as the Ruse and Fusion were.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got guys coming from Vanier, LeBreton Flats, downtown. Some of these places are tough areas. But you know what? They seemed pretty normal to me. They were a bunch of nice guys. And I think, having good role models in your life, whether they are family or people outside of that, I think that's huge, So if you can make an impact on anybody's life, it's like, it's very rewarding because these friendships down the road, 10 years, 20 years, it's just special, like to be, part of a community where everyone helps each other out, and just to come back and share stories, amazing. So I'm glad. I'm glad to be a part of any team I've been on and share those experiences. Doesn't matter who you are. We all had a good time.
When did you start thinking that pro volleyball was potentially for you?
It was like after my fifth season, it was like, okay, I was at a York tournament there at Christmas my fifth year, and we ended up winning the York Invitational, and I was like, okay, maybe I do want to play. Like, maybe I am good enough. I don't know what I want to do. And Michael Amoroso, I was talking to him, and he was like, I would suggest for you to go to NEP and just, own your skills and just take it to the next level. And I said, okay, maybe I'll think about that. And I got an agent through him. And, it was like, okay, not getting any advice right now. It's like, do I just, get a job or do I go to NEP? So I talked to Dan Lewis, and he's like, no, I think, you've got some pretty raw power. Like, you're a very explosive athlete. Like, I think you should come. So I said, okay, I'm down to come. So I went there, and it was like, he's like, this is what it's like to play pro. Like, we're not going to go easy on you. Like, it starts tomorrow pretty much. So you come into the gym, and it's like pushing heavy weights to the point of failure. And then you still got to go to practice. And it's like, okay, I can't jump now that my legs aren't working, my arms aren't working, but now it's like, but I still have a 2-hour practice. So it's like, how is this? How am I going to respond to this? Am I going to make an excuse? And it was funny, if you ever had like a sore shoulder or a sore knee, it wasn't like, oh, I feel bad for you. It was like, oh, you didn't do your rehab, so it's a different mentality. It's not, it's like in pro, if you say I have a sore shoulder or a sore knee, they're going to say, what's wrong with you? I'm sending you home. It's your, so that was interesting. So it's like, okay, but it actually worked, doing this rehab or this warm-ups, you come in 20 minutes early, you do like a shoulder circuit or something to warm up your knees and your ankles and your hips, and as well like a half an hour warm up in practice. And it's like, okay, after I warm up, I actually feel fine. Like I don't feel as sore as I thought I would. So there's like just getting through that barrier and always coming into work. Yeah.
I've had this discussion with people before about the NEP, FTC, NEP, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. And how, I've heard people, oh, like, what, do you think these guys are actually going to get that much better playing at the NEP? And for me, my argument is
Yeah.
always, it's, well, yes, I think you are going to get that much better. And I think that you're going to get better in very specific spaces. But I also think, just like you said, like, it teaches you how to be a pro volleyball player. Because you're right,
Yeah.
like just that you said, like, it's right on the nose. Where, like, if you aren't, like, I think because in North America there's a much different pro model. Like, if a guy on the Raptors is on a contract for 2 to 3 seasons and he gets injured, then the Raptors are going to take care of him and all that stuff. But when you're just on like year-to-year contracts and that contract can be voided at any point, if you're injured, you might be done.
And not to mention, at your universities, they actually have a pretty big budget for recovery and physiotherapists. When you go play pro, it's like you're not traveling in a big bus. You're traveling in, 2 small cars. You're getting a little bit of physiotherapy, if not none. So it's like you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta know how to take care of yourself. So my lacrosse ball was my best friend. My foam roller was my best friend, and as well, like just cooling down properly, stretching. It's like and getting adequate sleep. So it's all part of the puzzle. If you've got a morning practice, I would suggest sleeping before your next one, if I'm honest, so you don't feel it by the end of the week. Because it's like it's one thing to practice, 7 times in the week, and it's another thing to play, a cup match in the middle and another match in the week on the weekend for regular season. If you're not already playing in CEV cups, so like it's a full-time job. People don't understand that part. If you don't have your body, you don't have anything. So
Do you think like that? I wonder like how many careers have we lost over the years because guys just didn't understand that, and that even what I probably received in terms of therapy at like a CCAA school is probably much better than majority of pros are getting overseas.
no, absolutely. Like you've got that right on. No, like I've just heard there in October, that McMaster player had torn his rotator cuff in Austria. And like I was like, oh my God, like that's terrible.
Wait,
Or just other players.
that's what happened to Pasland? He tore his rotator cuff? This is the first time hearing of this.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think they posted an article there on the McMaster website
Oh,
about
I
his
must have missed that.
experience. But yeah, it's like whoa, and it's like reading his story. It was like, I was it was a lot of volume, but I can attest to that too. Like at a certain point, it's like you're not the invincible Canadian, which they think you are. Like when you come overseas, it's like for example, I'll give you a preseason story for me. It's like we've already been practicing, twice a day all week, and then we have a invitational tournament, and we invite Carla Varsko and Prague to come play. Right, so it's like we're playing, and we don't play just first to 3. It's like 5 sets no matter what, just to get the reps in. So it's like I play all 5 sets, and then we have a second match the same day. I play, all 5 sets again. So it's like I played 2 full matches in a day, and I'm like, after a full week of 8-9 practices, so I'm like destroyed. And it's like the next day, it's like we were supposed to have another match. I'm like, how am I supposed to play another match tomorrow? Like this is bad. And then one team had to cancel coming down and actually playing us because they had gotten corona. I think it might have been Usti. But the next day it was like, no, we're gonna do an inter squad match. And I remember like my first or second jump, I jumped, and then I was like, ouch, like what's that? And then I just stopped, and it was like, a very, very minor strain in my quad. And it's like, okay, now I'm going to be out for 2 weeks. And it's just like, whoa, like, where did that come from? Like, it's like, I've never, ever had that type of injury in my quad before.
Mm-hmm.
like what's going on? And then I look back and I'm like, look at the volume that I just put myself through. Like I was telling other players that volume, and they're like, what? They're like, why? Like that's not even productive. And I'm like, you're a machine over here. They don't care.
Do you think it's maybe partly because like, and I'm completely making this up off of my own, but like, do Europeans maybe have a slightly less motor in practice, and they might go at like 70% as opposed to going at 100%?
110% full all the time.
That's what it is.
It's full all the time.
Crazy.
It's full all the time. Like your best is never your best, pretty much. So it's always pushing you to become better. But when I was playing at NEP, and I'm talking to Dan Lewis, and he says, if you go 100% all the time, you're just simply not going to get better. There needs to be rest, because think about it. If I was to get, an adrenaline rush in practice, I'm not going to be going to sleep anytime soon. I'm going to be going to bed at sometimes 3, 4 in the morning. And then when I got practice the next morning, and then you've got other things going on, like I noticed that sometimes when I'd play over in my season this year, it's like I have an amazing game, full adrenaline rush, like, people call it beast mode, whatever. And then the next day you're like, you almost feel like hungover, you're like, what's wrong with my body? And it takes you, a few days to get over that. And it's like, you can't go full all the time, but you definitely need to be mentally engaged, and you can always work on technical aspects of the game. You don't have to hit it full every time in practice, but you can, make a smart tip, like take out the setter, or, or put it somewhere where it's going to make them have a tougher, either score or put them in, give yourself a free ball back, or we're going to have a triple ball block up, So I think that's what you have to end up doing. You have to self-manage yourself in practices during the week, so that when it comes to the game on the weekend, you still have full energy. Like this year it felt like NEP, but more this year, because I was like the only full-time, like legitimately full-time middle blocker. So like some of my middle blockers would be coming to practice, 3 times a week or 4 times a week, because they're in school or they're an older player. But for me, it's like I'm getting all those extra reps, so that was also a learning experience for me. And, I want to go full all the time, but you also have to maintain your machine. You can't just break it.
Now that's crazy how much volume you were getting. And I mean, it makes sense that you talk about Paslin tearing his rotator cuff, because I know that he was getting crazy volume like right out of the gate from that.
Yeah.
One of the first articles I wrote this season was about Paslin like going off in one of their first games and like playing well in the CEV Cup. So that makes complete sense. Do you find like, is there certain skills that maybe you are like, is there certain, maybe not skills, but aspects in the game that coming from Canada you felt that you excelled at, but that maybe that there's others that you were way far behind? Like, is there that kind of discrepancy between North American ball and European ball?
Let me just think. During NEP, I actually got a lot better at out of system setting. And as well, I've always had a mean float serve. In attack, I thought I was like, really good, because I just go over top of the block and just bounce it in OUA. But when it came to pro, it's like, no, I'm playing against, 6'11", 7-footers. You can't do that anymore.
You're a little bit undersized as a middle.
Oh, I'm only 198 centimeters. I'm
6'5",
just under 6. I'm like 6'6" and an eighth, pretty much. Yeah. So I was always very explosive, and I just hit deep over top of the box. But now it's like, okay, they're taking my 5. I have to hit both ways. So I remember my first game. I come in and we're playing the best team in the league in my rookie season, and I go up and I just try to go over the top of the ball and bounce it, and just the biggest middle blocker on the other team, Tadoa, just absolutely slams me. And I'm subbed out and I'm on the bench. And then my coach is like, see, you have to hit both ways. And then at practice the next Monday, it was like, don't try and hit it as hard as you can. Like, be precise, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like working on my 5 shot. So all we did, work on 5 shot, 5 shot, 5 shot. And then after that, it was, you're too tight to the setter. You need to be able to like jump into the ball and like pick where you're hitting. You can't just hit 5 one time or hit one the other. Like, you have to be able to hit both.
Okay,
at
I'm gonna
each
stop
time.
you. I'm gonna stop you here because I remember trying to get you to back up from the setter when you were a 17U, and we used to do those double practices with our two teams. I remember trying to get you to change that. So I'm glad that they finally got you to do it in the Czech Republic, because trying to get you to do it as a 16-year-old was difficult.
Well, so when I was younger, my nickname was Hops, not because I could jump high, but actually the lack of hops that I had.
You had long
So
arms.
so I would jump straight up and just extend my arm, and that's how I could get the height. But obviously that's not the way you want to get your height. You want to be jumping into the ball. But yeah, man. Once I stopped being lanky, I still had that style of play, but it was actually okay, because it was like, if I was set on the net where I had the angle to go OT,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, who's going to stop me? No way.
Yeah.
But when I came to pro, it's like, no, you can't do that anymore.
But
So, yeah.
you were able to make that adjustment, I'm guessing.
I was after, many reps, and I was able, actually, it was like the first 2 weeks in a row, I was like benched, and I was like, whoa, like, I've always been a starter. What's going on? And then I kind of just like, this is going to sound funny, I took it personally. And I was like, all right, I'm turning everything off outside of my life. Like, I'm going to become obsessed. And then it was like, my obsession was like crazy, man. Like, all I thought about was volleyball, and all I wanted to do was perform. And it showed on the court. It was like, I was on the dream team for a month straight, having like 14, 15-point games. And they were like, everyone in the league is like, whoa, where did this guy come from? Like, who's Warren Taylor? So that was like crazy, And then after you have players respecting me before they, read and react on me,
Mm-hmm.
and next thing you know, I've got full commit blocks, and that helps my outsides. If my setter sees that, it's like, in pro, if you have a one-on-one and the ball's in the right spot, it should be a kill 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it was interesting. But then I also realized, this year, that stats are just stats. Like, a lot of the time, middle blockers, it can look like they didn't have a good year, but they've had so many soft blocks that have gone to six back that have been transitioned to points. But you're not on the dream team, you're not on nothing, and you get overlooked completely. And it's a tough position, because if the other team is ripping spin serves and you can't pass it perfectly, which is honestly getting more and more normal. Like, out of system volleyball is the next level. It's pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets tough to score points. So I would say the next level, it's all about who's the best serving team and the most consistent serving team. Because what are you going to do if someone just rockets 120-kilometer spin serve at you, or a very steep float serve with good pace? Like, you're just going to pass it in the middle of the court, and you're going to play, or wherever you can, just up, and you're just going to give it to your opposite or tight on the net so that you can play. Like, I know it was so cool to see the style of volleyball where it's like, all right, we're not going to try and score on our first attack. We're just going to push it off the block, recycle it. And then from there, now we have our inside the attack line pass. Now we can play in system.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really cool to see teams work together to do that. Because I think that's the biggest difference between pro and university was, in university, at least in Canada is known for just full power, high off hands or things like that. But when I came to the pro scene, it was like, okay, there's different ways to play volleyball, not just full power.
Now, I've heard a few people kind of start maybe petitioning that we should take out the tip and the swipe, because like you said, like it's very common now for guys to do the push and swipe. There's a few plays that I think it's starting to get questionable with how long the ball is staying in that hand. What do you think about that? Like, as a middle blocker, that would almost benefit you the most.
So as a middle blocker, I've seen the speed of the set definitely increase depending on which team I've been playing. So what it comes down to is like, yeah, like I can be there to close the block, but if I haven't pressed my hands yet, they can just throw it down my chest and it's a point, you know? And it's like the refs don't really call it. Like in Poland, they definitely don't call it. Watching their games, they even volley it with two hands over the net.
Yeah.
Like a push. You know what? I think if both sides are allowed to do it, you know, it's kind of fair. It's also kind of like, you know, for me as a middle blocker, it's like I've been asking people to kind of just like serve out the pipe, you know, because when you're dealing with, you know, a perfect pass and it's a huge middle blocker, if I don't commit with middle, my coach is going to scream at me. And if he scores over pipe, it's like no block because everyone else has the responsibilities on the outside. So it's like, but the swipe I think should be taken out, where you can push into the block and then throw it outside. That one is like, I see a lot of people, they literally hold the ball and then throw it out. And that one I don't like, even though, you know, it does get us a lot of points. It's a frustrating. I don't mind the push into the block and recycle because that's just smart.
I agree with you on that, but I definitely agree. Like I think the swipe, it's too subjective, right? Because a lot of the time, oh my god, a lot of the time the player that swipes it out is actually the last person touching it, and you don't see it unless you challenge it on instant video, which is what twice out of 22 games, you know, you get that instant video. So yeah. But also
all season,
you just said, when, you know, like the ball is really, really fast and they're just tipping it down in that space. Like, to me, like, that's not a volleyball play. It's not a volleyball play that fans want to see. It's not a volleyball play that looks good on TV. Like it's just kind of a dink play. And, you know, it's just kind of like, it kills me to see it, because it kills the momentum. And, you know, like you said earlier, and I totally agree with you. Like you remember Doug Anton, right?
Doug Anton?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
He was my coach at Algonquin, but he like helped out. Like he was the original guy who started like Sports Cam with Colin and stuff like that. Based off that, they were very close. But I remember him coming to the gym and talking to us about being like, you know, like every time you get set that ball, it is a permission for violence. You know, like you have the ability to go up there and hit that ball 120 kilometers an hour, and you're allowed to hit someone in the face with it. You know, like it is a permission for violence. And we're seeing the game go very much like, and it's weird too, because it's only like it's only in the men's game. Like the women's game is getting more aggressive, like they're hitting the ball harder, whereas the men's game is getting cutesier and with all the tips and stuff.
Well, you know, I think for the women's game, everyone jumps around the same height. So if there's a block there, you know, you have to hit a certain way, and there's going to be a defender there, and there's going to be rallies. But in the men's game, there's so many angles at the height some of these guys can spike, and with the power, you know, I wish there was more rallies. But as well with the men's, like the serves they're putting into the game, it's like for example, like Casey Schouten has been absolutely ripping bombs. Like I'm probably going to say 120K. Some of these serves,
dude. He's been doing that
minimum
since club, though. That's
minimum
been his MO always.
And it's like they call him the bomba, like the bomb. Like yeah, he is. Yeah, I noticed against our team, like they 3-0'd us in playoffs, swept us, and it was like at practice, you know, the next day, coach is yelling at us like, "What's going on?" And then our libero is like, "Well, I went to pass, and then Kelsey Schouten went back to serve." You know, he's shouting like serve, and it's just like, you know, like, what are you gonna do if someone's that hot? I mean, definitely you got to pass it better as best as you can and have someone that can hit those tough out of system balls. But he was definitely putting them in a good position to play block defense.
What would sorry, but what would you think about going to American rules where you're allowed to have a little bit more subs, so you have those DSs to come in? That's kind of what I want to see. Because like you said, like serving's become a weapon now. Maybe you serve out you take out like your right side, or take out your P2 for someone for someone a little bit smaller, a little bit better ball control to play in the back row. I think I'd love to see some pro leagues try that out.
I think when it comes to the outside position now, I think they're becoming more of a passer than an attacker. If I'm completely honest, I think you get actually more sets in the back row for like pipe than you do in the front row, just because passing has become so important in the men's game, and the opposite is just the volume point scorer. Like, I know for some guys, it doesn't matter if it's a double or triple block. If you just put that ball in the right place, they're going to absolutely score. Like, I remember watching a podcast and they were talking about Gavin Schmidt. It was like, I knew if I set him in the right spot, like, he's scoring. It doesn't matter what block is there.
Oh yeah.
So it's like the passing is I think it's like pretty like at least for me, it's like when I have a high scoring game, it's like we were passing, or if I have a high blocking game, it's like they weren't passing because we're putting ourselves in good situations. Yeah, I mean, ball control and serving. The first contact is the most important in the game. But as well, defense. We were playing against a team, and it's like you spike that ball, like against Budweis there, Casey's team. I go up for a 51, and I absolutely crush it, like one of my hardest hits all season. And then all of a sudden, it's like up in the middle of the court. They set it outside, huge long rally, like probably 30 seconds long, and then there ended up being a setter dump by the other team, and they score. And then I just like look over at my coach, and he's like not happy, obviously, because we didn't score the point. And I'm just like, what are you going to do? Like, that was just a sensational defensive play. And it's plays like that where a guy gets to go back a serve again. And then all of a sudden they're on, a 3-0 run. And it's like, okay, they've won the set now. Just from one crazy defensive play. So defense, I think everyone knows defense wins championships. And in the men's game, if you can get a huge dig like that, it's the difference between 25, 23, or the other way.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that's exactly what you're seeing, like with Zaxa beating Kazan and beating Lube in Champions League recently. Like, yeah, they're playing great offensively, but some of the plays that they're making on defense, their defensive structure, how their block defense, how that block defense relationship works together, it's so strong. I mean, and I also think that's how Canada has improved our position in the world so drastically in a decade. Now, you've mentioned, Casey Schouten a couple of times now. The Czech League is actually littered with Canadians and guys who have played in Canada. So, you've got yourself on Odalena. You mentioned Casey Schouten on Bujovic. If you go over to Usti, there's Lars Bornemann and Vichot, who played at Laval, and then Mark Wilson playing at Carlo Varsko. Is it what's it like when you walk into the gym and you see some of these Canadian guys? I know some of them you've probably never met before you going over there, but is there still that rapport when you were in the Maple Leaf?
No, it's just an honor, man. Like, I remember I played against Mark Wilson in my first year in the OUA. He was on Guelph, and he'd get set, and he'd just turn and burn to one and bounce. Like, I remember Jack Peckham still has nightmares. Subbed out right away. Mark Wilson, boom! It's like, well, what are you going to do, man? That guy is massive. He's a freak of nature. He can jump, too, for how big he is. And what a monster. And then, Lars, I actually hadn't heard of him, but then I go and see, it's like, oh, he had a 30-point match or something like this. Like, where did that come from? Like, who is this guy? And then I go and watch, and yeah, he's spiking the ball, and he's serving it pretty tough. It's like, okay, people can come from wherever. I can come from Nipissing, He can come from
UBCO.
Okanagan.
Yeah, UBCO was
Yeah,
Borneman.
Okanagan. Yeah, yeah. And it's like, yeah, you can come from anywhere. It just depends. Anybody can be anyone they want to be. It's really, really, really cool. You don't have to come from a well-known program like one of the top teams, but as well as like Paraguera. It was cool playing against him because when I was at EP, we would go down and play Laval as well, and he was their juggernaut. Like he'd get set everything, and he just hit so high and hard. It was like pretty hard to defend him, and he's just still the same when he's playing for Usti. I mean, if he passed, okay, but their setter was able to put him in a spot where it was high and close to the net, and he would just rip high hands and score every time. Like he was very, very efficient in that. So his high ball offense was next level. Yeah, he was very, very good this year. Yeah, and then playing against Casey, I was a bit younger. I didn't play against him, but I would see him at the Team Canada tryouts, and he just had an absolute arm, and you just see the legs on the guy, and you're like, holy, like this guy has been in the gym. Like he must be an Olympic lifter. Like he's got, he's pretty jacked. And then you go out and see him, and I remember playing in the preseason tournament, and he hits line against me, and I got a pretty good touch on it, but there's just so much power. It's like it's into the stands. Like normally that would be a good dig, but for him, no, he's not giving you a chance to defend that ball.
Is there any recognition amongst like the Canadian guys, like the U Sport guys, like when you walk into the gym, like you say what up to them, have a quick chat?
Yeah, I would only talk to Mark because I know him better, and like after you lose, sometimes like you have to go and meet in the change room and talk to your coach. But there was always that across the net, like respect for being over here, and real recognize real, for sure.
You mentioned before that like the Czechs kind of expect you to be like the ironclad Canadian to come over and just do everything. Do you feel like they have a high regard for Canadian volleyball? It seems like it with the amount of Canadians playing in the league.
Well, I know for my pro team, it's like they like to recruit from NEP. Like they know like that's like the volleyball program. From the aspect of like OUA and CAS, it's not as recognized as NCAA. So I know going to NEP is like really good for a lot of players to go pro. So anybody that wants to go pro, I would really suggest going to NEP because a lot of teams like to pick from there after you finish your OUA career. Well, if you're a stud, you're a stud. If you're OUA player of the year, you can be marketed that way, but not everyone is OUA player of the year. So
yeah. I mean, Alex Duncan Thibault got his first contract in Italy because he was the OUA East player of the year. So it definitely goes the wrong way, but that's interesting. You still think, well, I guess that's true. The NCAA would hold a higher regard, but was there many Americans in the Czech League, like Matt August, like
Matt August? I can't really think of any other Americans in that league. No.
That's fair enough. What kind of was it mostly Czech guys on your club?
Yeah, we had last year there was actually 2 Americans and myself, and we had a Latvian. But then everyone else was Czech. But this year it was like I was the only Canadian, and there was still the Latvian. So this year and I was the only one that like really spoke just English. That was tougher, going from having a couple Americans, best buds, to hearing only Czech. So that was definitely interesting.
What was the first word you learned in Czech? Was it a swear word?
Yes, they teach you the bad things. If you ever learn a new language, they're never going to tell you the practical things. They're going to teach you the bad words, of course.
Yeah.
Just because you're going to say it and they're going to laugh because they think it's funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. It's literally that simple.
Have you started to understand Czech a little bit?
It's funny, it's like it's a very, very tough language. Like I won't understand it, but it's like once they finish a sentence, I kind of understand where it's going. You know what I mean? Like after you start hearing the same words, you start realizing like this word is good and this word is bad, or this word is used to describe something. So you might not know the definitions, but you definitely know the tone and the meaning behind it.
That's
Yeah.
fair. So like
Yeah.
when you're conversing with your coach, does he yell at you in Czech, or is it like broken
So it
English?
was funny. Like it, no, he has actually very good English. But it's a preference. You know, it's just because you can speak another language doesn't mean you want to, especially if your entire team is Czech. You know, would I blame anyone for speaking their language? Like if I'm in another country, you know, I have to get used to them speaking their language and I have to adapt to that. I'm never going to be, you know, because if someone came to Canada and we're speaking in English, we're not going to flip to Czech. So I understand that,
Mhm.
you know, you're in their house kind of mentality. Yeah.
Sweet.
So,
So are you
but it's tough. It's a tough language.
do you know like a couple words? Like can you go to the store and stuff, go to the restaurant?
Restaurant, I know the food. I can I can order off the menu, or I can at least recognize all the things. That's the biggest thing. Like for food, I'm good because you have to always eat. Um, for ordering, you can just point at it on the menu and they'll get it for you. So it's not too bad. Not too bad. But no, I'm not too good at Czech at all.
What kind of food is are they going down in Czech Republic? Like, is there anything that's specifically Czech, or like
Yeah,
what are you eating over there?
Czech cuisine is they like bread dumplings and goulash.
Okay.
That's like very common. But I noticed they don't really eat like vegetables like really at all. It's mostly like gravy, like some sort of bread or potatoes, and like a red meat kind of deal, or like sauerkraut. You know, it's very like war times type of food. Very very basic, like root vegetables if they do have.
Do you
So
do you rock with that, or like I?
no, that's not healthy to me. That I did not like when you. I would eat it from time to time. Like one of their dishes is really good, shvichkova. But you know, if you're an athlete, you can't be eating that all the time. You'll definitely, yeah,
So
not high performance food. So it was tough because also I was in a small city. We had a very limited, you know, what you could get at this grocery store, like the limited selection. So it was like I was very calmly just going there, you know, for like chicken and rice and frozen vegetables, but there was not a large variety. But we were lucky to get a team car later, so me and my Latvian teammate were able to drive at least to a bigger grocery store that did have those items, so I could eat healthier.
damn, yeah, because I mean I feel like watching Brant's performance sports on Instagram that he's got you guys all eating good.
Oh no, it was you can still get healthy items though from the restaurant. You know, I'm just saying the Czech cuisine itself, but you can get Italian whatever else
Oh,
from
okay,
that
okay,
restaurant.
that's fair. That's fair.
But and we do eat well. You know, we get whatever 5 coupons a week, so 5 meals per week we can get from the restaurant, which is huge in between practices. You know, you can just eat and go to sleep and then get ready for your night practice. So definitely, um, oh man, it was a luxury for sure. Not having to cook some days and just enjoy the restaurant Bodlak in
Bodlock.
Odolina Voda.
Okay.
Bodlak,
How do you pronounce the town again?
Odolina Voda.
Odlina Voda. Okay. How, how about hockey? You mentioned you grew up playing hockey. As Canadians, we always grew up learning about how good the Czechs were. And Martin Hasek, beat us in the or sorry,
Yager.
Dominic Hasek beat us in the '98 Olympics, and Yager and all of this stuff. So, did you ever get to experience any Czech hockey?
Not. I really wanted to go watch a game, but I never really had the time. But no, hockey is definitely one of their bigger sports there. I'd say that, and football is their favorite sports. Um, but no, I've actually. It's kind of funny. Yager's still playing, and he plays for Kladno, and Kladno has a volleyball team. So it's kind of funny to go to this smaller town, and no, obviously I didn't see Yager, but it's just kind of funny to be in the same place he's living and playing. But it's funny because he owns the team, and he's like, I don't know how old he is. He's probably like
Dude,
50,
he's getting up there. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. Like let's do it.
47. Like I don't know how old Yager is. He's up there.
Yeah,
Probably
let's
playing for Calgary within the past
49.
7 years.
He's 49.
Yeah, 50. And he's still playing. Like he's gonna play until he can't move anymore. Like he's a legend.
Absolutely. Complete
He's
legend. It's too bad that you haven't been able to go out and see a hockey game in Czech Republic. I think that would be cool, but I feel like they probably don't have any fans going on there anyways.
yeah, it's not having fans is tough. It's tough. Because a lot of players feed off the crowd and they get that energy. So when you have to get that from yourself or your teammates, it's a new experience.
Now we mentioned like kind of looking forward. I never really asked you like, are you going to be playing next year? Like you're planning on playing a third season?
I do. I like right now. I'm thinking of both options. I'm not gonna, just in case I didn't have a contract, I don't want to be sitting here unemployed. So I am applying to jobs in Canada, but I do want to play again. I would like to play again because it's like when I first came back, I was like, that was a tough season. Like maybe it would be nice just to be comfortable at home and with my family and with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was thinking, it's like as soon as I got in the cab at the Montreal airport, I was like, I could have a completely normal 9 to 5 job. And I don't know if I would be happy right now thinking that I could have played more years. So just knowing that I have a limited amount of years to play, it's like I can always come back. The Canadian market right now is booming. There's a lot of jobs. Like just talking to foreigners, it's like they can have, a PhD and be a garbage man because there's no jobs. But here it's like if you have that, you're much more likely to be employed. Like Canada has a very, very good job market, and we're very, very fortunate to live in this country. But as it is right now, I think I would like to play another season, whether it anywhere. Yeah, like right now, I'm just assuming that I am going back, and I'm working out heavy already, and just trying to stay in shape. Yeah.
What was your like if you were to be going in the job field, like what was your degree in? Like well, where are you going?
I studied business bachelor of arts, and my specialty was accounting, honors in accounting, and as well I got a certificate in human resources. But I don't know if I'd want to do that or what exactly would I would want to do, because it's like sometimes sitting I have had a desk job before. It's like sitting there 9 to 5 has been like, okay, I don't know if I want to do this. My back hurts from sitting in a chair. I'm not as happy. But then as well, it's like you get I had a construction job and I really enjoyed, doing labor. So it's like, okay, maybe I would want to be a contractor possibly, but as well, it's like I do have my education. So it's like when you have your education, you don't have to, you don't always get a job what you studied for. I think most people figure that out. I think it's just a ticket to be eligible for a lot of jobs. Like with the government of Canada, you can go on their website and you can apply from anything from a payment officer to anything, man, anything. So it's and all you have to do is just have your degree, your secondary school. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities for now. Just I'm going to try and get a job as quickly as possible so I can, have a life hack and get out of the quarantine. I have to go to work. I have to leave the house.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, I think I don't know, for me, it's like, I don't like sitting around. Like sometimes you can get that social experience from being at work.
100%.
So I think this year's been tough on not just me, not just my teammates. I think just everybody in the entire world. I think we all just want to get out and enjoy life.
Yeah,
So
I definitely agree that. Well, dude, it's been great talking to you. It's been great to see you. Obviously, I'm super happy that you're doing well. I'm super happy to hear that you're had a good season. I'm super happy to hear that you're planning on going back because personally, I think you've still got like a little bit more in the tank. I think, and I feel like I know you decently well enough to be like, I feel like there's still something a little bit more to give in there. And that after this, if next season, I just want things to go back to normal for next season.
Please.
It's so hard to watch volleyball when there's no fans in the stands. It's so hard to watch sports in general. Like even watching March Madness, I'm guessing you've kind of been all over the March Madness as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. Sorry, one thing before you go. Who do you think is going to win the Czech League? KC, Budapest. They beat Liberec yesterday, so they won game 1 of the semifinals. If that. Who's your pick to win the Czech League?
I will have. First off, I'll start who I think is going to be in the finals. I think it's going to be number 1 and number 2 of the season, Budweis and Karlovarsko in the final. And then from there, I mean, if I look at both sides, both of them have pretty equal talent in the middle. Setting, I would say Miguel on Budweis, he's very, very good. I think they might have a little bit of advantage there. Opposite power, similar. And then I don't know, man. In a 5-game series between those two teams, it would be tough to say, but I'm gonna say Budweis. I think, but I can't bet on either team because I got a Canadian on each team, and I both want them to win so badly. I'm never gonna be like this team's gonna win. But when either of the team are on, either of them could win. So, but I'm gonna say Budweis. I'm gonna put my money down. I'm gonna say Budweis. Yeah, they're just very, very consistent. They're a very consistent team, and they put a lot of service pressure. So I'm gonna say them.
All right. So Casey's out, and he's putting his money on you. Screw you, Mark Wilson. We don't believe in you.
No, not screw you, Mark Wilson. He's a good Canadian kid.
Oh no, I would never actually say Mark screw you to Mark Wilson. I 100%. I love Mark Wilson. I think he's a great guy. Actually, I was hanging out with Phil James on Sunday. And when you're talking about, like, I don't know, like he's a guy who never went and played pro, and I know he regrets it. Because even like when we were hanging out on Sunday, he was like making jokes, and he has like a job now and stuff like that. But he's like, Everett, like I'm in the best after this quarantine, like I'm in the best shape of my life. Like I'm ready to go play pro. And I mean, he's a year older than me, so he's like 30 now. So definitely do it now while you have the chance before you start regretting it.
That's what I've been kind of feeling. I'm like, no. I'm gonna be like, oh, I could have played in this country, but I settled down for the money, not for the experience. I'm like, yeah, I can get the money later, maybe.
Do you think you would like upon returning to Canada, you're gonna play like some men's league or stuff like that? Like, do you think you want to still be involved with the game once you're done playing pro?
If I'm in Ottawa, I'll probably coach. I think I'd want to coach for the Ottawa Mavericks.
I was gonna say like Fusion or Mavs. Like you going Jay Mooney, you're gonna go to the Mavericks.
Mavericks.
Okay.
Mavs. I think I really like the Fusion. I think for the Mavericks, it was kind of like the next level because they had the strength and conditioning. Like the more, they really pushed you. It was like for the love of volleyball, it was like, Fusion. But for, bringing your talent to the next level, I found when I switched, it's actually funny how I joined the Mavericks. It was like, one summer I was at Madawaska, and all of us, it was like you had some of the Mavs boys and some of the Fusion, and it was like, you guys want to create a super team?
Dude, that's the way it happens.
Yep.
That's exactly what happened in my 18U year too. Because we had like a few guys who had played 18U for the Mavericks. There was like the 17U Mavs, and there's the 17U Roos, and then we just like got all of the best guys together, and that's generally the way it always happens.
Yeah, it's like both very good clubs. But for us, it was like everyone was going to the Mavs, so I switched to the Mavs, and I was very lucky to be coached by who I was coached by.
Who did
Frank
you?
Saint Denis was awesome. Um, Kerry McLean.
Kerry, legend. Man, like I'm just thinking about like that coaching staff that we had, because like we worked pretty, like the 18U and the 17U teams like worked, like we always practiced side by side, and like
Yeah.
we did a lot of like individual work, but like that was a pretty legendary, like Tyler Vivian was a part of our 18U coaching staff. Tsahi Laving,
Also a legend.
also yeah, Tsahi Laving, we mentioned Frank Saint Denis. Those are some fun times. I definitely I miss coaching sometimes, especially those days when you're working with some of the best kids in the country.
Mm-hmm. But Colin Walker was also a very good coach.
Another Ottawa legend.
Another Ottawa legend. Very, very, very good coach. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming and chatting with us. We'll have to let you, once you sign. I'm gonna say once you sign, because I believe that you're gonna be playing again next year. So once you sign, please let me know, and we'll make sure we'll get it out there. But as I said, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the show today. Glad that you're home and safe. Watching your quarantine struggles with the hotel and stuff like that was.
Man, can I get into that just so like
Yeah,
some people know?
let's do it. Let's right at the end.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
Okay, so first off, it was like at the end of my season, it's like, all right, do you want to stay around and like practice with the team, or like do you want to go home? We understand it's been a long year, and I'm like, I need to get home before they change it to another rule, because my friend in Latvia, they were going to change it from like the same thing as us, 3 days in quarantine, to 10-day quarantine in a hotel. And I was like, if that happens to me, that I'm going to be broke. Not broke, but like that would hit the pockets hard. So yeah, I got my COVID test. I flew through the airports. I got back, and as soon as you land, they ask you where you're staying in a hotel. You have to. It's mandatory 3 days, and the prices are pretty steep. I think it's like 3 nights, probably over $1,000. It's pretty common for most people right now.
Dude.
And the rule is like as soon as you get your negative COVID test, you can leave. So I only stayed the next morning at like 6 a.m. I had my COVID test, and it's like I paid for 3 days of hotels, non-refundable, but I'm allowed to go home. It's like, I'm just gonna go home. I'm just gonna, it's a dead cost, it's a sunk cost. To bite the bullet, and I'm just gonna go home. But it's funny, they've called me multiple times already, making sure I'm quarantining. An officer came to my house and is Warren here, and he comes out back. Have you left the house? No. Is someone getting your groceries for you? Yes. Have you had visitors? No.
But like,
okay, thanks. No, they're taking it serious. I know people that have been visited 3 times, and they're like, piss off. Leave me alone.
But you've already tested negative.
Twice. I tested negative before I left Czech Republic. I tested negative when I arrived in Canada. Tomorrow, I go on a live FaceTime with a healthcare professional, and I'm going to give myself a PCR test, put it in a box, mail it to the laboratory, and then if I test negative, then I can finally leave quarantine. Actually, no, I can't. I still have to do 14 days. Even if it's negative, I still got to wait the full. So next Monday, I'm free. Finally, I can leave. Dude. I think it's just it's good that we're taking it seriously, because, the death toll in Czech Republic now is over 20,000. I mean, COVID was 10K a day there. Like, we think it's bad here, just over 1,000. You imagine 10,000 COVID a day. Like, I think we're actually doing it right. I know a lot of people are skeptical, and I just want my life to go back to normal. But if your family is alive and healthy, just be happy about that. And now we've got the vaccines. In due time, we'll be back. It's tough for everybody. Everybody, they don't want to infringe on the rights. They want to be free. But I think we're doing this for a reason. We want people to be healthy, because COVID, with the new strains, it can hit people very differently. My entire team got COVID back in September. Actually, most teams, their entire teams got COVID, and then it was like,
I haven't heard of. I haven't heard of one team, one athlete yet who's been like, yeah, no, we haven't been hit. Like everyone's been hit. I agree.
Everybody got COVID. at one point or another.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I got it last February when I was in Vancouver. And like sure
Yeah.
enough, I was at a bunch of games and there was a whole bunch of people being like, "Oh yeah, I'm really sick," and we were like making COVID jokes at the time but at the time like we didn't even know it was it wasn't even in Canada. Now it shows that it was in Canada, like in 2019. But I definitely agree. But man, it sucks that it seems like it's like that's such an economic drag. Like you're spending over $1,000 on all of this, and
That's ridiculous. If you test negative twice, or they should at least have it where it's like, okay, stay a night in the hotel, and if it's negative, then you can leave and you're refunded the other 2 days or the one day.
yeah.
So then you're not dropping 1,000, maybe 300 or 400, which still sucks, but you're not out of pocket.
Yeah, I agree. And like it's the same way that I'm like frustrated here in Canada where it's like you can go to any big box store, but like any small business is closed down. It seems we've gotten maybe a little bit lazy. It's like the helicopter parents who just throw a blanket fix for everything and be like, well, this is gonna fix everything as long as people follow the rules.
Well, personally, I think there should just be a limited amount of people in each restaurant or whatever, and you should, but it's like either open it or close it. I think it's so unfair to have these massive companies, like Walmart or Costco, allowed to have hundreds of people inside, side by side, packed like sardines, and then you can't have someone come into a convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah,
that seems pretty double standards for me. And
like
okay, but as well for the job market, it's like people could easily be working right now, but they're not because they can claim, 2,000 CERB per month, and they're like, well, I can just sit at home.
Not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore.
No, like I'm not eligible for it anymore. For example, but yeah, like I definitely agree. But there's also
abusing the system. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
people are abusing it.
There's definitely people, but I think it's also a thing that like my girlfriend was working at Lululemon and she was working 4 or 5 shifts a week, and the 4 or 5 shifts a week, like at the end, like after that much, like wasn't as much as the $2,000 a month. And like at the end of the day, like $2,000 a month is not a lot to live off of. Right. So like maybe we need to look at our stuff, but
I agree with that. Makes sense. I agree.
Like if you're working if you're working all of that time and you're not making that money, so it is difficult. But I mean, now we're starting to get into
politics.
To politics. And that's
we're not politicians.
We are definitely not politicians.
We're volleyball players.
Exactly. Former volleyball player, if you even call it that. Current volleyball player. But hey, dude, as I said, glad that you're home safe, glad that you're home healthy. Hopefully you go for a nice walk on Monday when you get out of quarantine. That's still a long way away. Wow. I'm gonna go for a walk this afternoon just for you.
Appreciate that.
And yeah, definitely let me know if you're ever in the Toronto area. I think this summer I want to start setting up some like grass games, some 4-on-4 grass games. So if you're in the Toronto area, let me know and we'll see if we get you out there for that.
Sounds awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Guys, this has been Warren Taylor, fresh off his second season in Czech Republic, former Nipponese Laker, former Ottawa Maverick, Ottawa boy, good all around good guy. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace. Thanks a lot, Warren.
Ciao, ciao.